Chapter 7. Joseph. Dad, I think it's great you're getting laid tonight, Stevie says from the bedroom. I cringe at my reflection, then cock my head back to face him. What did you just say? Stevie's eyebrows draw apart. Did I say something wrong? I set my comb down, then place my hand on the bathroom door frame. You're 11. Do you know what getting laid even means? I heard a kid say it at school. Stevie adjusts his glasses, pondering my question. It means going out on a date. A laugh escapes me. That's exactly what it means. I face my reflection and yank the comb back through my gelled curls. I'm gonna ask you one more time. Are you sure you're okay staying home alone tonight? Yes. I'm sure I can spend a couple hours alone in our own house. Stop worrying so much. Stevie twirls his brand new wheelchair in a circle. It was the first purchase I made with the cash Nikki gave me. He's been in it for 2 days now, and I still haven't gotten used to it. The sleek design, the adjustable features, the way the light reflects off the polished steel and aluminum. A newfound confidence is now working through Stevie, and I couldn't be happier for him. After dousing my neck and chest with cologne, I crouch in front of Stevie and place my hands on the chair's armrests. You're my kid. I have every right to make sure you'll be okay without your old man. You do realize you're a kid too. Stevie places his tiny hand on my shoulder. You're just a kid with a kid. My eyes lock on Stevie's for a moment. For most of his entire life, I've seen his mother in him, but I hear myself in the way he talks. I'm a kid with a kid. You're clever. I stand over him and wink. Just like your dad. Stevie rolls his eyes, then turns down the hall. Tell Ava I say hi and to enjoy getting laid. I shush Stevie while making my way to the front door. Before opening it, I send Nikki a text. The text I send him reads, You'll keep an eye on Stevie? Nikki replies with the text, Yeah, got you covered. Nikki and I have grown close over the past few days. Sure, he's paying me a shit ton of cash under the table for this case, but I'm starting to think we can actually, maybe, possibly, by some chance, become friends. Besides Ava, I've never trusted anyone enough to keep an eye on my kid while I'm out. But Stevie's getting older, and it's time for me to put myself out there, whether it be making friends or going on dates. I guess tonight I'm taking a chance on Nikki and myself dating again after 5 years. I take one last look at myself in the entryway mirror. My curls are slicked back behind my ears, my mustache neatly trimmed above my upper lip. My new gold chain peeks through my new dress shirt that's been tucked into my new slacks. I know what you're thinking. I bought a lot of new things, and I bought them pretty quickly. Besides Stevie's new chair, I must say that I'm the most proud of my brand new front door. I gently caress its smooth round knob that's cool to the touch. On the first try, it glides open on silent whispers, showing no signs of restraint like the door before. Its sweeping arc speaks of hope, promise, and change as I... Am I really this fixated on a door right now? You fixed it! Ava shouts, her eyes wide open. She throws her hands in the air. You fixed the door! I'm caught by surprise as she leaps into my arms. A moment passes before I let myself receive her affection. As we stand locked in each other's arms, I accept the fact that her embrace serves as so much more than a mere embrace. It speaks volumes of validation that I'm doing something right after all these years of focusing on what I've done wrong. Sometimes, it's nice to be reminded that you're worth something, even if it's not a whole lot. Ava pulls back, the two of us still locked in each other's arms like we were the other night in my living room. Her eyes flick between mine, the two of us content with nothing but each other's presence. It's in her gaze that I see the path forward. It's not a straight path or one with arrows showing me exactly where to go. It weaves among other paths, rising and falling. Regardless, it's an opportunity to move forward. Maybe I'm able to give love a chance after all these years of closing myself off from it. Ava's dress is a warm canvas of flowers complementing her tan complexion. Finding it hard to keep from staring, I slowly reach into my pocket and pull out a set of car keys. It takes her a second to realize what this means. You didn't! I smirk. Listen, it's nothing nice, but it gets the job done. She shakes her head, unable to suppress her joy. I don't care about the car, Joseph. Her hand meets mine. I care about the man driving it. I open the restaurant door for Ava and we're consumed by the posh laughter and luxury. I'm a fish out of water in a restaurant this nice, growing more uncomfortable with every step I take toward the hostess. The young girl scans me from head to toe before continuing her conversation with another hostess. I want to say something witty like I normally do, maybe try to impress Ava by making our presence known, but my wits have been replaced by an extreme case of first date jitters. I clear my throat and the hostesses look my way. I made a reservation. Name. One of them scoffs. Joseph VERITA. The hostesses scroll through a list of names. After a silent beat, they both look up at me. You're not on our list. I narrow my eyes at them. Not on the list. It suddenly dawns on me that I forgot to make the reservation. Joseph, you fucking moron. There you go again. I fold my list between my teeth, twiddling my coin in my coat pocket with my sweaty fingertips. In a last-ditch effort to save my date with Ava, I catch a glimpse of the name Bennett, written near the top of the list. That's right. I forgot we booked under your last name. I lie to Ava, then glance back at the hostess. Bennett, party of 2. Ava nods, the hostess is now eyeing us skeptically. Right this way, one finally mutters. She leads us, menus in hand. As Ava and I follow from closely behind, I become more comfortable with the fact that we don't belong here. Frankly, I don't want to belong in a place like this with these pretentious elites and their overpriced clothing and obnoxiously loud jewelry. I would much rather be eating pizza in my tiny kitchen with Ava and Stevie, and I'm pretty sure Ava would want the same. Enjoy. The hostess exhales, setting our menus on the table. I pull Ava's chair out, then guide it underneath her as she sits. This is the first date I've been on since before Stevie was born. Do guys even pull chairs out for girls anymore? Such a gentleman, Ava whispers playfully as I sit across from her. The candle between us highlights the gleam in her eye. I can finally appreciate the effort she put into her appearance for our date tonight. I'm just so used to seeing her in her everyday clothes. She smiles. Bennett, huh? How did you think of taking someone else's reservation so quick? I shrug and flash Ava a cheeky smirk. She laughs, and before we know it, we become one with the moment. Even amid a setting so foreign to us, we find peace in the now. The world around us dissolves as we share stories and reminisce about simpler times. We learn more about each other than I thought we would. Ava wants to be a writer, and I want to renovate the house. Ava plans to start a charity one day, and I plan to move to the West Coast. The West Coast? Ava shouts between sips of wine. Like California West Coast? I shrug. New York isn't what it used to be. I can't raise Stevie in a place where crime is through the roof, not to mention all these people out and about glorifying that new show. With my elbows now resting on the table, I whisper, that show Stevie was talking about at dinner the other night? What's it called? Good or Great? Great or Good. She shivers as the words leave her lips. Have you seen it yet? Chills run down my spine as I recall watching the recap of the last episode. I remember the man standing center stage as he was lifted with the noose around his neck, the crowd cheering as he's introduced to death on live television. The memory is so vivid, I'm watching the scene play out before my very own eyes. Even in my mind, I can't get myself to look away. I've seen a bit of it, I mutter, my vision blurry until I shake my head. How could they put a show like that on TV? No traman nada bueno, Ava whispers under her breath. I pinch my eyebrows together. Do you speak Spanish? She places a hand over her mouth. Sorry, it just came out. It dawns on me that Ava has been Stevie's nanny for a while now, and I hardly know anything about her. I've been so stuck in my own world, going through the motions while raising an early adolescent child. I find comfort in remembering that learning more about someone is what dating basically is. Whoa, I'm dating Ava. Don't be sorry, I laugh. What'd you say? Teach me. No traman nada bueno, Ava says slower this time. She looks both ways before whispering, they're up to no good. I look both ways. Who's up to no good? She shrugs. Whoever made the show. Back in the country my family came from, the news would create these wild distractions to keep people from seeing what was happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of money to be made off of people who can be easily manipulated. And people wonder why I keep the TV unplugged, I mutter. Ava sighs. It's just scary to see what terrible things the world has numbed itself to. I nod. How the hell am I supposed to keep raising a kid in this broken world where people are killing themselves on live television while the crowd cheers like it's some kind of game? My stomach tightens at the thought of someone I know standing center stage on Greater Good. I run through the scenarios, my mind drawn to the morbid display. Ava slitting her wrists as the people cheer, Stevie blowing his brains out as the crowd roars, me getting burnt to a crisp in an electric chair before a standing ovation. My mind is pulled into a morbid abyss of sickening scenarios. No matter how hard I try, I can't get myself out. A cool breeze sweeps the back of my neck, and I feel the weight of death lightly enveloping my shoulders with its wiry fingers. Are you okay? I hear Ava's voice, but I can no longer see her. Death threatens to pull me from the table. Death is here. I'll be right back. I jump to my feet, the chair skidding out from under me. I'm overwhelmed by my own anxiety as I make a beeline for the restroom. I avoid eye contact with each person I pass, wondering if they notice me trying to outpace death. My heartbeat doubles along with the rhythm of my footsteps. I weave through restaurant goers and waiters alike, my gaze glued to the restroom door. I throw the door open and shove it closed, pressing my back against it as if death is going to barge in after me. There's nothing in the restroom but a stall, sink, urinal, and smooth jazz playing in the background. I attempt to calm myself down. Get it together, Joseph. My breath steadies as I approach the mirror and take a long look at my reflection. When I hear the door swing open, I lower my head and rinse my hands under the sink. The sound of dress shoes clicking against the tile fills the room until the shoes stop at the urinal behind me. The man unzips his pants and the two of us are now standing with our backs to each other. We both let out a loud sigh. Long day? The man asks, staring at the wall. I laugh under my breath. Guess you could say that. I half glance at the man as he zips up his pants, flushes, and stands over the sink to my right. Same. Haven't seen this girl who stood me up tonight. He exhales, fixing his hair in the reflection. It's complicated. I mean, she's complicated. Life is complicated, I admit, splashing cold water on my face. The guy smirks. She's obsessed with her work. That's not such a bad thing. You don't know what she does for work. He pumps soap into his hands and begins lathering. If you knew what she does, you would be worried how she's capable of obsessing over it. Do you see any kind of future with her? My eyes meet his through the reflection. There's deep thought behind them. That's the thing. He sighs. Since we met, I've fallen more in love with her by the day. But ever since she got promoted at work, she's changed. It's gotten to a point where not only do I not see a future with her, but I don't see a future without her either. I know nothing about this poor guy, but I want to help him. I want to lend him some life-changing advice about how it's been tough for me to see my own future since I lost my wife. It's odd not being able to see or look forward to what could lie ahead. Being a father, I should be able to offer him some type of wisdom, but I'm used to giving advice to 11-year-old kids through bedtime stories, not men in public restrooms post-panic attack. If it's meant to be, it'll be, I say hollowly as we dry our hands. It's the best I can come up with given the circumstances. The man laughs. On top of her standing me up, someone stole our reservation. That has to be a sign that it's not meant to be. My eyes widen. If this guy's last name is Bennett, I may owe him an apology for stealing his reservation. Before I can confess having committed my restaurant crime, he continues. I told the restaurant to let the couple take our table. It's not like I need it. She isn't coming, so I'm gonna just head home. I do my best to take his mind off the table topic. This girl you're seeing, why couldn't she make it out tonight? She's working. I was hoping she would take one night off to celebrate my birthday with me, he says, fixating on his reflection. He turns to me and laughs. Last we spoke, she was going to. I guess she decided otherwise. Well, happy birthday, kid. It could be worse. You could be 37 years old and on your first date in 5 years like me. He tilts his head. Damn, this might sound rude, but I would have assumed a guy your age is married. I was. I slid my hand into my pocket, twiddling my coin. I should get back to my date. Keep your head up. I'm sure your girl will come around. What's your name? The guy asks like it matters. Joseph. He extends his hand for me to shake. I'm Ryan. Best of luck, Ryan. Ryan's gaze softens. He gives an unsettling nod and turns back to the mirror. Before I head out the door, I catch a glimpse of his face through the reflection, the light shining over his saddened expression. I see a young man wallowing in his loneliness. I don't know his story, but I recognize his demeanor. I get it. I've been there and I'm fortunate to have made it out alive. I can only hope that he does the same. Ava's smile brings me peace when I return to the table. Everything okay? I was starting to worry. I sit, feeling more comfortable in my skin than I was earlier. Everything's great. I exhale. Sorry, it's just been a while since I've done... I point around the restaurant. All of this. The moment I set my hand on the table, Ava holds it. She tightens her grasp, locking eyes with me. It's in her eyes that I find the courage to seek love again. I loved my wife with all my heart, and when I lost her, I wasn't willing to love her any less to love someone else. Maybe I don't have to love her any less. Maybe a heart can grow larger. Maybe a heart can grow in order to make room for new people to love. That way, I don't need to love my wife any less. I will love my wife the same while I open myself to loving someone new. The rest of our day goes smoother than I thought it would. And as we arrive at Ava's apartment doorstep, I don't think I'm ready to say goodbye. She picks up on it, a trace of reluctance manifesting in her voice as she says, "Same time tomorrow morning." I love hearing her say the phrase because it brings promise of a new day spent together. Her grip on my hand loosens, then I realize this could be my chance. Kiss her, you idiot. Before we let go, I tighten my hand around hers, then pull her into my chest. With our hands locked, I caress the back of her head and our lips meet. Her lips are a promising oasis in a desert of lost intimacy I've wandered for far too long. I feel her arms tighten around my neck, and I'm reminded of what it feels like to take a chance on love. When I pull back, I dip my forehead to hers. "Same time, tomorrow morning," I whisper. Ava beams up at me. "I like saying it, but I love hearing you say it." I already look forward to saying it again tomorrow. I'm on my way home from Ava's when I notice the streets are desolate. The usual city hustle has been replaced by an eerie emptiness, the towering skyscrapers devoid of life. My car is the only one on the road, no honking horns, not a single pedestrian in sight. It's as if Manhattan took a collective breath, holding it in anticipation of something about to happen. I flip through radio stations, waiting to hear a radio host address the citywide silence. The streetlights I drive under, ones once casting a warm glow, now flicker and cast long shadows dancing along the littered sidewalks. Where is everybody? I finally land on a radio station, the host's enthusiasm nearly blowing out my speakers as he shouts, "And I'll tell you, tonight is the best night of the week, y'all. Greater good, let's go." I flip the channel. "Pronto, greater good comenzará." I flip the channel. "How do you think tonight's winner will take their life? Bullet through the head? You know what would be really cool? Setting someone on fire. Call that a slow burn. Get it?" They should. I flip the channel. "Hope you got your watch parties ready because tonight's episode is going to be wild." I mute the radio, my eyes panning left and right as I drive up the road. I notice large groups of people gathered in bars and in their living rooms, their faces lit by their TV screens. Is this where everyone is right now? Inside watching Greater Good? As I make a right onto Fifth Avenue, I notice a crowd gathered on the side of the road. I cautiously pull up to the curb, far enough to see the commotion without being affected by it. People are climbing over one another to be noticed by somebody standing outside the building entrance. I take one last visual sweep around the block. Nobody's in sight except for the herd of people crowding the Regal lobby doors. Curiosity sweeps into the confines of my mind, encouraging my hands to open my car door. As I step around the front of the car, I can make out the people's shouts. "Pick us! Please pick us! We got here first! We deserve seats! I've been camped out here since last night!" The passion and determination fuel my curiosity even more, pulling me toward the back of the crowd. "This is bullshit!" A man groans to my right. Sweat glistens over his forehead, evidence of the struggle he's undergone for who knows how long. He looks rough around the edges and reeks of cheap whiskey and diesel. "What's all this about?" I ask him. He waves his hands in the air, trying to get the attention of somebody standing at the building entrance. Without looking at me, he mutters, "Greater Good. This is the entrance for people who want to be in the live studio audience." "The show is open to the public?" "Yup. We'll get in if we're lucky." He curses over the people in front of him. "And it ain't looking like we're getting lucky tonight." A breath escapes me as I'm shoved from behind. In the couple minutes I've stood behind the crowd, more people gathered behind me, forcing me to become one with the crowd. I feel pressure from all angles now, with nowhere to look but up. My eyes land on large white letters at the top of the building spelling out Mendax. I'm suddenly thrust forward with the crowd. Standing between two security guards, a man stands by the lobby doors with a shirt that reads "Crew Member." The crew member waves us in one at a time, counting us off one by one. He taps my shoulder as I'm forced through the front door with the current of bodies. 137, he says sternly, tapping my shoulder. He continues as people flood in behind me. 138, 139, 140. Adrenaline courses through my veins as people rave about what's to come. We're herded like sheep without a shepherd into the television studio, my fellow sheep making their predictions as to how the winner will commit suicide on tonight's episode. They continuously commend the show's creator for her creative brilliance, while I can hardly process what's happening as I'm forced through a fluorescent lit hallway. I felt sick to my stomach watching the last episode's recap in my living room. How will I stomach watching this live? "Let me out!" I demand aimlessly. I want out!" Nobody responds and the entire crowd goes silent as the people in front of me stop. We bump into each other, all coming to a halt in the crammed hall. In an instant, the hall goes pitch black, causing some people to cheer while others question what is about to happen. An elevated LED screen at the end of the hall brightens the room, depicting a woman of bewitching beauty. Her black hair frames her face, her alluring eyes captivating the crowd around me, including myself. A chilling familiarity lingers between the woman and myself as I listen to her opening remarks. Welcome to Greater Good, the show for the morbidly curious. My name is NORA FICTUS, and I am the creator of the experience you are about to take part in. The crowd erupts in deafening applause as she continues. Now, you all play a vital role in the success of tonight's episode. On each side of the stage and on the backs of the seats you'll sit behind, you're going to find prompter screens. Besides enjoying the production, you are required to follow the prompter's commands, whether it be to laugh, cheer, clap, or gasp. If you do not abide by these prompts, you will be removed from the building. Enjoy the show and be aware, death is in the building. The screen fades to black, and as Greater Good appears on the screen, the crowd continues to cheer and applaud. Nora's final words cling to my soul. Death is in the building. A chilling breath tickles the back of my neck. I look over my shoulder and witness death's ethereal presence. It glides above the back of the crowd, an eerie stillness in its wake as it looms to the front of the hall. People pay no mind as if they don't see death the way I do, and maybe they don't. Death's shadow creeps over me, acknowledging me but only for a moment. Its existence, more potent and omnipresent than ever, continues with us into the television studio. We enter to the left of stadium-style seating that rises to the studio's back wall. In the front of the room, a stage with vibrant orange accents depicts a set straight out of the 70s. The orange accents contrast the black walls and ceiling, pulling everyone's attention to the stage the moment we sit down in the audience section. To my demise, I'm seated in the back row next to the sweaty man I stood next to outside. Whiskey and excitement radiate from his pores as he gets situated in a seat. I notice 3 plush orange chairs placed evenly across the stage, each facing us. Behind the chairs, the wall of a screen reads, Greater Good. Joseph, what have you gotten yourself into? I whisper under my breath. The audience claps as the woman from the hallway screen arrives through a side door, escorted by a security team. She's wearing an orange blazer and slacks. Her jet black hair slicks straight back, revealing the orange hoops hanging from her ears. A haunting familiarity still hangs over me as she casually waves to the crowd and walks up the stairs into a room behind us. There's a wide window next to the door that closes behind her. She must run the show from up there. The lights around us dim except for the ones illuminating the stage where crew members prep the show's host. The screen built into the seat in front of me reads, Get ready to applaud in 3, 2, 1. Applause. We obey, and as if on command, the host delivers her opening lines with overflowing enthusiasm. Good evening, and welcome to Greater Good, the show for the morbidly curious. Death is in the building, and it's prepared to take the life of tonight's winner in exchange for bettering the lives of others. Each contestant has already decided where their cash prize will be donated, and it's up to you to decide which contestant will receive that prize. Now, let's meet our first contestant. The prompter prompts us, flashing applause. We obey. The screen behind the stage reveals an edited segment of a woman talking about her life. She's sitting in a dimly lit room, her eyes glossy. Sitting on a lap is a child no older than 10. The child's skin is flushed, the top of her head just recently shaved. With the help of the host on screen, the woman shares the story about her daughter's fight against cancer and how they can't afford to pay her medical bills. We watch attentively, sympathy washing over us like gentle rain on a warm summer day. When the lady finishes her story, she's introduced onto the stage, where she sits in one of the orange chairs. 2 more contestants occupy the screen shortly after her, one of them sharing their story about living with schizophrenia, and the other sharing their story about not recovering from being wrongfully imprisoned for 30 years. After being drawn in by the stories of each contestant, I'm brought back to the present moment when the host announces that it's time to vote. The screens behind each seat reveal 3 portraits, one for each contestant. Whispers fill the room as the audience members debate over who deserves their vote. I lean toward the man next to me. The one with the most votes is supposed to kill themselves right in front of us? That's right. He nods, then whispers, Hopefully it's a slow death. I drove 6 hours to see this shit live. He itches the thin hairs on his double chin, debating who to vote for. My stomach tightens as I lock onto the screen in front of me. The contestants are each smiling in their headshots. Are the smiles sincere? These people are sons and daughters of parents somewhere out there. Are they really willing to kill themselves right here, right now? I fold my lips between my teeth, refusing to place a vote. I don't want to play a part in this, and I refuse to do death's bidding. A few minutes pass, and the crowd's whispers have silenced. These contestants sit anxiously in their chairs on stage, the host casually scrolling through her phone near one of the cameras, as if it's just any other day on the job. The room shakes as an announcement is made over the intercom. Audience member 137, you are the only voter remaining. Please place your vote. Heads around me turn left and right. People start to look back at me, and my heart plummets when I see 137 engraved in my armrest. Shit. The man's whiskey-stained breath repulses me as he hisses, "Just vote for the schizo. The world needs less of those freaks." My hands shake as people whisper about me. Their voices grow louder, most of them urging me to hurry up. I stiffen when I realize I'm causing a commotion by simply refusing to participate. Security guards toward the front whisper to one another, then glare in my direction. I suck in a deep breath. Upon exhaling, I vote for the contestant with schizophrenia. The lights dim once more, and the host takes center stage. I'm officially one of them. I'm one of these sick and twisted individuals. Here I am among the crowd, taking part in this sick game, taking part in death's bidding. Sheer panic works its way through me as the winner is announced. The crowd cheers for the schizophrenic before the prompters even tell us to. As the man stands and embraces the host, celebrating his victory, I ponder how the world has gotten to this point. Humanity has stooped low in the past, but this is a level of depth I couldn't fathom until this point. Death looms over the crowd, manifesting on and around the stage before me. It cloaks the man as he spreads his arms and closes his eyes, taking in a moment that will be his last. The man to my right removes his hat and places it on his lap. He holds back a grin as people continue praising the winner. "And how does it feel being tonight's winner?" the host asks the winning contestant. He raises his chin, locking eyes with the spotlight shining from above. "My life is misery," he breathes into the microphone, "so I will end it with pleasure." The stage in front of the winner slowly splits down the middle. A bathtub rises from below until it's elevated a few feet above the stage. Two broad crew members stand on each side of the winner, prepared to assist him into the tub. Without hesitating and with a smile on his face, the winner allows himself to be placed in the tub. The crowd goes silent in eager anticipation for the climax. I want to look away. I want to keep from poisoning my mind with this visual, but I can't. Death pulls at my attention with its inevitable force. It wants me to watch, to witness its masterpiece. The crowd grows louder as a golden hairdryer is lowered from the ceiling above. They're gonna electrocute him. I exhale under my breath. I look right at the man next to me. They're gonna... My heart drops at the sight of the man's gaping mouth. His arm is extended over his gut, the hat in his lap slowly moving up and down as he pleasures himself to what's happening on stage. I clench my jaw. I'm frustrated, repulsed, and flat out disappointed in everything that's led humanity to this disgusting low point. I always knew there were sick people out there, but I never realized the level of sickness that lurks in the minds of some people in this world. With the little strength I have left in me, I force myself to my feet and hurry down the staircase, splitting both sections of the audience. Nobody looks in my direction, their eyes glued to the bathtub on center stage. I keep my head down. The crowd roars, and I see sparks fly across the stage in my peripherals. The applause is loud, but I can still hear the sizzling and popping coming from the bath water. "Look, Joseph, you want to look. Look away," I command myself. I reach the foot of the stairs and make a hard left. With my right hand held up, I shield myself from seeing the spectacle unraveling on stage. People cheer, people shout, people praise the morbid display. Their energy radiates, and I use it to thrust myself through a group of crew members and out the emergency exit doors. The night's chilling breeze wraps me as I sprint to my car parked down the road. In a mere blink, I'm holding my door handle. I blink again, and I'm driving. A third blink, and... "Joseph?" a voice says. Tears trickle down my cheeks as I gasp for air. I don't know if I'm crying because I'm mad at the world or just relieved to be away from that demented display. Regardless, I haven't cried like this in a long time, and I don't give a damn who sees. "Joseph," the voice says again calmly. I'm looking at the floor below my knees. I'm on my knees. I'm breathing shallow breaths that don't get any deeper than the back of my throat. I can't breathe, so I surrender. "Help me, please." "Just breathe, Joseph." There's that voice again. "All you have to do is breathe." All I have to do is breathe. I inhale, I exhale. I inhale, I exhale. It's not until I find my rhythm that I realize I'm in a church. My eyes trail up from the floor to the stage in front of me. Just above the stage is a colossal cross that stretches up to the ceiling. A blue light shines from the ground up, highlighting the polished wood the cross is made of. I run my sweaty palm over my shirt while standing to my feet. A silhouette appears to my right, and as it gets closer, the blue light reveals that it's Pastor Ben. My voice pierces the silence. Sorry if I startled you, Pastor Ben. I don't really know how or why I ended up here. I told you to call me Ben, didn't I? Ben calmly strokes his beard, taking another step toward me. And I run a church in the Bronx, Joseph. You're not the first person to randomly barge through the front doors. They're unlocked for a reason. I let out a laugh in an attempt to hide my confusion. The only reason I step foot in this building once a week is to hear how bad other people's lives are. I'm not religious. I don't pray. I don't take part in any of this stuff. So out of all the places I could have ended up tonight, why did I end up here? Since Ben has been present, a sense of calm has washed over me, smoothing over the jagged edges in my disturbed mind. The scent of polished wood and the feeling of tranquility envelope me at once, detaching me from the nightmare I somehow managed to escape. That's when I realize it's silent, and there's no trace of death or its whisper. I let out a long exhale, admitting defeat. I never thought it would come to this, but now is a better time than ever to take Ben up on his weekly offer. Listen, Ben, if the offer still stands, I'd like to grab that cup of coffee with you. Ben smiles. I cradle my mug between my palms, watching the steam rise from the surface. We're in a janky diner a couple blocks from the church, one that seems to have been frozen in time. A neon 24 hours sign flickers over the worn tile, the air thick with the scent of fried food and cheap coffee. So what brought you in tonight? Ben pours enough sugar in his coffee to give Willy Wonka a toothache. I sigh. You're gonna think I'm crazy. He begins stirring his coffee. The most influential people in history were considered crazy before they were considered brilliant or courageous. I don't see myself being brilliant or courageous anytime soon. Sometimes simply living is an act of courage. Ben's words are simple, but the meaning behind his words is riddled with complexity. I'm not gonna think you're crazy. You have my word, Joseph. He flashes a warm, encouraging smile, the lines crinkling beside his sympathetic eyes. I tap my coin against the table's edge, contemplating the most sane way to voice my struggles. I sort of hear death, I mutter. Ben blinks at me. You hear death? Like it's saying something to you? It's a whisper. I exhale, leaning forward. I hear it in the silence, or when my mind focuses on something morbid. It starts off as a whisper, then becomes this dark force that weighs me down. I pause for a reaction, and Ben simply nods for me to proceed. Lately, it's been happening more often, and I can't seem to shake it. He narrows his eyes, genuinely interested in what I have to say. I haven't even gotten to the root of my problems, and I already feel like I'm growing. All these years sitting in that support group circle, refusing to address my brokenness. It's my turn to be fixed. Ben takes a sip of his sugar-filled coffee. He cringes at the taste, sets the cup down, then adds more sugar. Jesus, I mutter toward the now empty sugar container. What about him? Ben teases while stirring. He looks up at me and winks. See what I did there? Very funny. I exhale. Ben loosens his grip on his mug, and his eyes meet mine. When did you start hearing this whisper? It started 5 years ago. I sigh, clinging to my coin. When I killed my wife and took my son's ability to walk. I pause, waiting for him to judge me, to call the police or make a run for it. Instead, he nods, and his nod is all I need to pour my heart out in hopes that I get fixed. I start with the night I ruined my life and met death for the first time. 5 years ago, my wife, son, and I got dinner in Jersey. My wife, Elizabeth, she was a foodie. She loved trying new restaurants, and I found this one 45 minutes up north. So we made the drive. It was a regular night, a night like any other, nothing special. My words are cut off by the lump in my throat. Ben patiently waits as I take a sip of coffee and continue. I was a corporate lawyer at the time, representing businesses on Wall Street. I hated it. The mountains of paperwork and watching rich guys get away with murder just because they were rich. The day you hear what these billionaires do behind closed doors is the same day you learn who the real criminals are. Anyway, I wasn't happy working with these corrupted suits, so I drank, and I drank, and I drank. When it was time for us to drive home that night, Elizabeth told me she should drive, and I took offense. I found it insulting that she thought I had let the liquor get the best of me, but she was right. I was arrogant, and I told her I had my booze under control when I didn't. I was so rude and obnoxious, and she still didn't get upset with me. Instead, she did something worse. She trusted me. My hands caressed the mug. It's hot, but I need to feel the burn. I remember we were on this long, winding road, coming home. Stevie, my son, was asleep in the back seat. I was so confident, Ben. In that moment, I could have sworn I had everything under control, but that's what happens when you're too far under the influence. What you see and feel becomes an illusion. We were on a 2-lane road, but I started to see 4. Ben narrows his eyes at me, slowly nodding for me to keep sharing until I can't anymore. Despite the struggle, I suppress my tears and keep going. We were on the road until we weren't. I remember coughing from the smoke rising in and around the car after it stopped rolling. The right side was smashed against a tree. I still have no idea how long we were sitting there, but I was woken up by Stevie crying. It was this piercing, deafening scream, but I had never been so happy to hear it because it meant he was alive. As I came to, the left side of my face was completely numb, except for this trickling sensation running down my cheek and neck from all the blood. The tip of my finger traces my scar. I looked at my wife, who was turned away from me. She was facing the tree we hit. I wanted to hear something from her, anything, and I did. In the faintest whisper, she said, "Stevie." I unbuckled my seatbelt to get to her, and that's when I saw that the distance between the center console and her door was a foot at the most. She had been completely crushed. With another breath, she said Stevie's name again, and I knew what she meant. She wanted me to save Stevie because it was too late to save her. So I climbed in the back and pulled Stevie from his seat. When I got out of the car, I shouted that I would come back for her. I told her to stay awake, though she was already drifting. Ben, when I looked back at what was left of that car, my wife wasn't alone. I saw death towering over the car, cloaked in darkness. I saw death with my very own eyes. I watched death creep into the car, wrap my wife in its chilling embrace, and take her with it. At the time, I thought I was still drunk, and maybe I was. Maybe it was all a part of the illusion. Regardless, I ran back up the hill. I stopped the first car I saw, gave them my wallet, and begged them to take Stevie to the nearest hospital while I went back to save my wife. Thank God they took him. They saved his life, but he was left paralyzed from the waist down. As for me, I went back down to the car. I climbed through the driver's side, and when I got to her, I knew she was already gone. Death beat me to her, and I'll never forgive myself for letting that happen. I sat there with her lifeless body for hours until I realized that if the police found me with alcohol in my system, I could be in prison for the rest of my life. Stevie wouldn't have a dad. No dad, no ability to walk. I did the unforgivable. I ran as far as I could, and by the time they found me in the next town over, I was sober, and they ruled me running as a result of the concussion I suffered. I was off the hook, but I've been on death's list ever since. I hear its whisper in the silence. Death doesn't speak actual words, but I know it's coming for me. I moved Stevie and I out of Manhattan after that. I became a criminal lawyer to find the good in people who did bad things because part of me thinks there's good in me even though I did a real bad thing. Truth be told, I don't deserve to live. Most of the time, I actually invite the thought of ending my life rather than living with the guilt. When I finish speaking, Ben is still looking at me the same way he did when I started. He's the only person besides me who knows why I don't deserve to live, and yet he still looks at me like I do deserve to live. Ben tilts his head, transferring empathy through his gaze. "Thank you for sharing your story with me, Joseph," he speaks softly. "I'll start off by saying that you deserve to live. I'll say this again. Sometimes simply living is an act of courage, so be proud of yourself for living courageously. I know you may not be asking for it, but being the pastor I am, I'm going to lend you my perspective." He pushes his coffee aside, lacing his fingers together over the table. God kept you alive because he's not finished with you. So don't think for a second that you are finished with you. I've been a pastor long enough to witness how the more a person struggles, the more that person is called to accomplish. You struggled a great deal, and I truly believe God is calling you to accomplish something greater. Ben's words engrave themselves into my heart. He leans forward, gripping my forearm tightly. There is a spiritual battle happening all around us at all times. Angels and demons are fighting for your mind every waking second of the day, even in your dreams. Forces of good and evil will compete for your eyes, mind, and body. At the end of this war between good and evil, our souls will be claimed. And believe it or not, you have a say in who will claim your soul based on the decisions you make. I blink at him. I have a say? How can I have a say in a matter that's so much greater than me? You have a say every day. Ben points to the side of his head. You just need to pick your path. Evil manifests itself in various forms, one of them being death. Joseph, I urge you to pick the path that leads to life. God gave it to you for a reason. Don't let death steal it before God calls you to do something great. He gently caresses my shoulder, smiling. I've prayed for you every day since you started coming to Positive Pathways. Do you mind if I pray for you now? My tears begin to fall, knowing someone I've avoided every week has kept me in their prayers. How could I have been so closed off to life but so open to death all this time? I begin to regret not speaking up in my support group. Ben deserves better than the silence I've given him. Hell, I deserve better. We lower our heads and Ben prays. Lord, I thank you for my friend Joseph. Listen, he's been hurting for a while now, and I ask that you provide him with the healing he's looking for. Remind us that when we seek healing, it doesn't always happen right away, and it isn't always in the way we want to be healed, but rather the way we need to be healed. You have worked miracles in my life, and I humbly ask that you show Joseph a bit of that light you've shown me. He has struggled tremendously, and I know it's because you're calling him to something great. Give him grace, peace, and love as he continues to carry out your will. Only you know how bad we need it. Amen. For once in my life, I feel an ethereal presence working through Ben. A whisper, but it doesn't belong to death. It belongs to a being greater than death, and I know it's in my best interest to listen. Amen, I whisper before looking up. What happens now? Ben chuckles. You go out there and live.